In website building, the design and development takes the most effort, time, and money. Website copy rarely features in the majority of website builds done by freelancers or small agencies. In reality, website copy is what does the magic in converting website visitors into customers. How can agency owners convince website clients about these magical powers? Kathy is here to help agency owners in selling website copy services. So let's welcome Kathy on the show and get started. Hi, Kathy. How are you?
I'm doing good. Nice to be here.
Awesome. So before we talk about the magical powers that website copy wields in helping convert visitors into customers and how agency owners can use that power and sell website copy as service to their prospective website clients, why don't you give a quick introduction about your online life?
Okay. I started really my online business of providing writing services in 2011. So it's been about 9 years almost that I've been doing this. I realized quickly that there was a lot of words on the internet and somebody needed to write them.
Yep.
And I'd always wanted to work from home, and writing was something that came fairly easy to me. So I launched out to see what was available for making an income there, and it didn't take me long to be having enough clients to write full time. I started out with mostly writing blogs for businesses. There's still a huge need for that. It grew quickly. I ended up having more work than I could handle on my own a lot of the times during my first year. So I connected with other writers, and they started helping me with my workload, and that just continued to grow until now I continue to have a team of content writers who write blogs for businesses. We write for a lot of SEO companies that like to keep content flowing on their clients' websites. But my love of words is to keep them short and concise. Offline, I'm a poet, so that I'm good at keeping things concise and making the words short. I'm never going to write a novel because that's not my thing. It's keeping it short, and not all writers can even do that. It's a special type that wants to keep their words short instead of writing paragraphs and paragraphs. But so about 3 years ago, I decided I wanted to niche down and not be doing a little bit of everything. And I chose website copy as my specialty. And so for the last 3 years, the majority of what I've been doing is writing website copy for website designers and marketing firms.
Awesome. So within first year, you became too busy with the work. That's a good problem to have, actually.
Yes.
Fortunate problem to have. So let's talk about website copy and the current situation of website copy with regard to website clients. Now, the majority of websites done by small agencies and freelancers, the website copy gets the least preference when you compare it with website design, development.
Mm-hmm.
And in most cases, the website copy is stitched out together by the client himself or by his secretary assistant.
Yeah.
Like when it's a small business, when we're talking about the website of a small business or a small company. Now, what do you think? What is the reason behind this situation? Are there not good enough copywriters, or website builders just don't want to use copywriting services and just keep the eyes of the client on design and development?
I have to think about that a little bit. Because when I first realized that's how most smaller web designers worked, it was totally confusing to me. Why you would sell website design and then say, give me pictures and words.
Yeah.
For the average individual, they look, and to them, it's images and words. But as I thought about it, a lot of smaller designers start as a one-person shop. And I have asked this question to a few of them, and a lot of them said, well, I'm not any good at writing copy, so why would I do that? And didn't seem to occur to them to hire somebody else to do that, which is surprising because a lot of web designers will hire web developers to work with them. Don't give it a second thought. Why wouldn't you hire a copywriter to work with you? I'm not really sure why that would be.
But that's the reality, you don't find
Yep.
copywriters on a regular, roles of agencies, but obviously a designer developer would be an important ingredient. But if you look at the website from the distance, copy is actually more important than even website
Right.
design.
Yeah, it wouldn't do a whole lot of good without those words on there.
Yeah, because I'm just going to give you a little example. Now, ideally, if a client wants to spend like 10K on a website, like he has a budget of 10K, I think, in my opinion, I think close to 50% of that budget, 5K around, should go to the website copy, and rest he can use to get his design and development. But in reality, 80 to 90% of that budget goes into design and development stuff, leaving little or actually nothing for copy investment. Now, in such case, do you have any creative ideas how to convince such clients to shift from that 80% of investment on design and development to 50%, scale that back, and use that extra money for investing in copy, because that is actually going to help his business grow?
And actually, I find the problem usually isn't in the client not wanting to. The problem is in the designer not presenting it as part of the package, and not, to me, when we started using smaller devices, website designers immediately began selling the need to have a responsive website design, because this is what you need to get the sales that you need
as
and
a
get
premium,
the attention.
and as a premium add-on. Like for first 3-4 years, it was like a premium add-on. Now it's like the default.
And they had no trouble selling that. So why would you have trouble selling? We would like you to have the words on there that will lead to sales. So, but in reality, most of the designers that I work with not only sell my copy to their clients, they mark it up. I asked one recently how much she marked up my copy, and she said 100%.
Awesome.
So, but that's how she presents it. This is my website package. We're going to make sure you have excellent copy on there, so you're getting the sales that you need from the people that you need. So I think it's not so much the clients as the people aren't presenting the value.
Yeah, and I think it would be best described as the problem from the beginning, when the client makes the first contact with an agency. Like, if you put the right things in the client's head, like if you put it like, oh, you only need design and development, you're good to go. But compare that with like, first let's get your copy done, and then we'll talk about design and development. Ideally, that should be the ideal scenario, but that doesn't happen often in the real web agency ecosystem.
And to me, it could actually, people say, well, then my competitors, their price is going to look lower.
Yeah.
But it's just like anything else. You're comparing apples to oranges and say, yes, it's lower because they're not giving you everything you need.
Yeah, but now in ideal scenario, like where this problem exists, now when a client comes to an agency, they do the design and development, and they send the client away to get their own copy, which is either written by themselves or by someone who is not actually qualified to write copy for the web. Now, how can such kind of an agency or a freelancer make a switch to offer professional copywriting services, like be it in-house or subcontracted? Like, is there something that you can suggest that will help in easy transition? Because obviously the price factor will come in, and the competitors bliss, like, I'm the cheaper option. Obviously with hidden terms and condition minus the copy.
Right. Well, I can share an instance early on in my career with a gentleman. I actually just did a Facebook post about this, but he was realizing the deficit from not having good copy on the websites, because he was into selling, marketing, and getting wanted to be able to actually guarantee people that his marketing would work for them. And the first thing he found out was, well, they don't have good websites, so I need to make sure they have good websites. So he got the websites going, but then he realized, yes, that the customers were providing the copy, and the copy was not written to draw a reader in or to make the sale. So he decided to hire a copywriter and contacted me, and he did a little experiment. He had a client he was working with who had started writing their copy. Mm-hmm. And the client had presented them with the copy for the sales page. So this agency owner gave me that copy, and he said, now you write it how you would write it. And he paid me to do that. And then he took the two and presented them to his client, and he says, this is your copy. This is what a professional would put on there. Which do you want? The client immediately agreed that he wanted the professional copy.
This should be converted into a movie and shown to every client, actually. Seriously, because, clients, they don't get the non-visual element convincing that often, like telling a audio story or even writing a blog post. But if you make a video dramatizing the whole thing, they will immediately, get on with it. That's the next question, because now we know, like we've already discussed the problem with agencies and freelancers not pitching the copy, but then there's an education level from the clients also. Like obviously for a new client, it's the onus on the agency to explain the importance of copy, but there are a lot of repeat clients, and there are a lot of clients who handle multiple clients, and that part of learning is also important, because problem is the clients are more obsessed with website design because they can see it, and they are excited to pour more money into it. Copy isn't more exciting element from visual point of view, because they don't see it. They just see it as a words. Hey, if it's not the, let's put was. They won't even care about which tense, past tense, future tense. They don't really care about it. How do you convince clients about the magical powers of website copy? Is there any other methodology? Like you gave an excellent example for convincing
another method could be comparing their website against a competitor that has good copy. Mm-hmm. That would be another thing, and let them see the difference. And that brings up the good point of understanding what is good copy on a website. Sometimes the designer or agency doesn't even understand that. So that's an important thing that sometimes, that's something I was educated on by the marketers that I was working with. This is how to write good website copy, and understanding that. So even if you're hiring a copywriter, do they know how to write that way? And so that's part of it. And when you understand that, then you can explain that to the client, that if somebody lands on your website and it looks like everybody else's website, and it says, we do this, we do this, we do this, they're not going to read what's on there.
Yeah.
Or if you have a whole bunch of text with very little white space, they're not going to read what's on there. So the words then don't make any difference.
Yeah.
But if you can attract that client and all of a sudden get their attention and say, oh, this website knows me. They know what my problem is. I need to find out what their solution to my problem is.
Yeah, you just gave two excellent examples. Like the first one, make the client write the copy, hire a professional, write the copy, and let him compare it. The second was comparing the copy of a competitor website that has an excellent copy. Any more examples? These are like very interesting things, to be honest.
And even talking about, a lot of them, customers might be using email marketing and understand what works to connect with, they have to have a great subject line or nobody's going to click and open it. Yeah. And website copy is very similar. If you don't have something right at the beginning that says you need to read this, makes them want to read it, they're not going to. They've got other things to do.
Yeah.
You can have as many call to action buttons if you want, but if they never read down to where the button is, it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah, comparing the title like you need to read this to comparing a title which just says announcement. Oh, it's announcement.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
need to open it.
And even, telling them, what makes you read something on the web? What makes you read a blog article? What makes your decision? The first thing is always the title. If the title doesn't grab you, you're not even going to look. Once you read the title, then you go down and it's the beginning. Is there something in the beginning says there's something of value here? Or you might go and read the headings down the article and say, okay, what's this article talk about? And that's what's going to draw you in to continue reading. And website copy works the same way. You have your H2s and your H1s, and those are key to the reader. They're going to glance at those first and see, is there something here that might be of value to me? And when they see that there is, then they'll continue reading.
Yeah,
and then the copy does its job.
But convincing a client on, changes in copy, especially like I'm sure besides doing the new website copy projects, you also do the website refresh copy, like the existing website where you change the copy for better, messaging of the business. Now there, when you suggest changes and client may not agree with it, primarily because with vintage businesses, they have more sentimental value with their words, their design, their colors. How you go about convincing, because design again is visual, but copy is not that visual. So how do you take that pushback into account when, doing the copy refresh?
That can be tricky, depending on the client. For me, usually how I'm selling that is that I'm the expert at words, you're not.
Yeah.
And it depends on the type. Like, I don't particularly like to write for coaches or something like that, because they really need a very personal message out there, and their tone and their type of
and
words.
They express themselves.
Yes. And some copywriters are really good at that and will fit that kind of tone. I work better with the more standard service companies. I can write great insurance copy. Some of the things that somebody might think are boring, I'm good at turning it around and realizing to the person who needs that service, it's not boring. It doesn't have to be boring. You can connect with their emotion a lot, because they're like, this something's costing me time, something's costing me money. Those are the things you hit on, that you address the benefits you have to offer them instead of just telling them what you do.
Cool. Now let's circle back to the pricing of components within a website copy project, website project as a whole. Now, obviously, there are two big expense areas: design, development, and website copy is nowhere to be seen. Now, in a scenario where you want to give copy the preference, shouldn't the copy be added as an investment or an expense within the initial estimate that you share with the client, so that
absolutely
the expectations are set right?
Yes, absolutely. That's definitely the best thing. If you leave it as a optional thing, then it gives the impression that this isn't important. It's not important, would you, another thing is SEO. Are you going to say, well, I can optimize your site and it'll cost you this much, or I can leave it unoptimized? Why would you not want your website optimized for SEO?
So the agencies or the freelancers with whom you work, with regard to who are more pro for copywriting services, do they follow this approach? Like, they will put the copy service component within the estimate and not make it look like an alien thing that you need?
It doesn't look like an add-on. No, it is. We give you the full service. And it becomes a real selling point. And a lot of people are surprised at the clients who are happy to hear that they don't have to provide the copy. Another example that I had of somebody hiring me for the first time was a website designer, and he'd been waiting a year to get the copy from his client so they could finish his website. And so he finally convinced them, let's hire somebody to write it for you. And the owner of the company was actually, he said, I'm so glad. This has been sitting on my list for so long, and I'm no good at it, and I don't want to do it, and I don't know who else could do it, because I'm the only one who knows. And he was thrilled to have somebody take it off his plate.
Now that you mention hiring a copywriter, let's move on with that exact thing. Now, website copy requires actual copywriters, not your average Facebook user who can type some post in English, right? Like I always give an example. I suddenly woke up one day and, hey, I can write few words in English and I'm a copywriter, right?
Yeah.
But that's not how it works, because obviously for a website design, you would need to know some graphic program. For development, you need to know the code. Now, with copywriting, obviously, besides just writing basic English, you need a little bit more than basic English, like understanding and presenting the message of a business. Now, should a website creator or agency hire an in-house copywriter, partner with a copywriter, subcontractor copywriter? Which is the most common setup that you've seen so far in your copywriting career?
Generally, they're hiring, they're contracting with the copywriters because your need for that copywriting fluctuates up and down until you get to the point where you need somebody in-house writing full time. It doesn't make sense to hire one person to be in there or two people to be in there, and it gives you that flexibility, because I found with a lot of companies, they have times when they're really busy, and other times when it's slower, and so being able to call on their copywriter contacts, and maybe you're super busy and you need more than one at once, then you have that option without having to pay a full-time salary.
Yeah, and what is your comfort zone? Which type of way of subcontracting or being
absolutely subcontracting. And most of the companies that I contract with, I'm basically a white label under their agency. I'm not presented as a separate company. I'm presented as part of their team, just like they do with a developer that they would contract with.
And going more refined under this, like how does a website copy service should be priced? Like, do you have pricing per page copy, or is it like for a website that contains 5-page or brochure website? Like how does the pricing part goes with regard to copy?
Okay, good question. Because it does depend, and there are some copywriters, I think, that might charge per page. I tend not to do that, because what pages I'm writing makes a difference. If you want me to write the home page and an about page, and that's it, I'm going to charge you a lot more per page, because I got to do all the research of who the company is and all of that. And those are the two, usually some of the most important copy that I'm going to write. So I usually have a base price for a typical 5 to 7 page website. That this is the starting spot. A really large website, the ending cost per page is going to be less, because the more I'm writing for the same company, the less time it actually takes. So I can lower that, price for a 20-page website versus a 5 or 6 pages.
And what about the sales pages? Like a lot of people sell specific stuff like courses, etc. And they have like small pages, medium size, and they are mammoth sales pages as well.
Yeah.
So how do you balance that? Because there can be a difference of, perception or even, what the client is expecting. You may have in your mind that I'll just write 10 rows of content, but he or she may be expecting 20, considering because his competitor has it.
Right, and that's something that has to usually be discussed ahead of time, and is something that is something I discuss with my clients, the agencies and the web designers, that, you know, this is my price. This is assuming it's our standard, you know, 300 to 500 or whatever words per page. Something longer like that is generally going to be considered a landing page, a specific sales page, and those definitely are going to cost you more. There's a lot more content to write.
Now, agencies and freelancers, they have something called care plans for keeping your design and development in right spirit, updated, secure. Now, is there something called care plan for copy as well, where you consistently check for the copy according to the changes in the visitor profile or the changes in business? Or is it like a fancy concept that is not practical?
No, not generally. Occasionally there might be, if the agency is also providing SEO services and they're wanting to change the keywords that they're using on the website. But that's, you know, that's again is not a ongoing thing. It would be a additional service at a specific time. One of the things that I generally do get often contracted for after the website is writing blogs for the client, which I am quite willing to do most of the time, if the price is right.
Yeah, because again,
Yeah.
you know, to be honest, I've seen this a lot. Like most small businesses, they are very cash strapped when it comes to getting the written content on there. They can spend money on getting a video or getting a fancy image made, but they will have a lot of problems spending even $100 on getting a blog post.
Yeah, and that's where, like, my content writing team, that's the kind of level that they work with a lot. We do hundreds of blogs a month for marketing teams, but most of them are SEO, and so it's really important for the websites and the SEO companies have sold that to their client. You need to have new content all the time and using the right keywords, and so that they pay for that service. But it's generally a lower quality of writing because it is more for SEO than actually for the reader.
Yeah, now I realize I actually used a wrong term for this. Like care plans isn't a word that can be associated with, you know, the copy thing. It's more of a content marketing services. And I see a lot of people provide that. And obviously it includes the blog post content, but I guess it also includes the content that you write for social media promotions and all that stuff. So do you also do that as well, or just you stick with the blog post part?
Blog post and website copy is my preferred. Occasionally I've done like brochures or some type of marketing material like that, or email sequences, but that's really not my specialty.
Now, these days, I see a lot of agencies jumping into copy first website building. Now, once they have a substantial, you know, copy for a specific page, they will then use that copy to build a design that represents that copy in the best way and then share with the design. So copy comes first, then the design, and then the development, kind of a copy first or design for copy first design. Now, have you noticed this trend, and do you recommend this approach? I'm sure you recommend this, but have you noticed this?
Actually, I've seen both directions. A lot of people asking for the copy first, but generally then I find they already have a template or something, a direction that they're planning to go, and I might not be writing in a way that really fits with the flow that they're, so I like to have some idea. You know, there are website designers that kind of, they have their preference. Excuse me, I gotta have a drink of water. For instance, I have one designer, and all his, I knew every website, didn't matter who he is, it was going to be kind of laid out the same. And so it made me really easy. Okay, he's going to want something up on the hero. Then he's going to want a little bit of text here. Then he's going to have a row with icons for the different services, you know, and it was, you know, this is how it's going to be laid out. And so I could easily write accordingly. And then if I go to somebody else and they want little bigger blocks of text or a lot less, then, so I like to have some idea from the designer, you know, even if it's just showing me the basic theme. Usually they've showed something to the client as a direction to get approval to go that way. And so then it gets to be more of a mesh. You know, I know whether there's going to be heroes. Some of them do the content, the sliders across the top. Do I need 3 or just 1? So I can start out from the beginning, writing for what's
Cool.
going to come forward.
Cool. Now we've talked a lot about agencies and freelancers who are not that good at selling copy services. Let's flip the scenario and talk about agency owners who are really doing good at selling copy services. Now, what creative ways have you noticed among this good bunch who is selling, you know, copy services with the whole package of website design? Like what special they are doing to get the clients on board and also making them spend money and getting a website that actually works?
Again, it's down to including it in the original offer package. The client that I talked about who presented the client with the 2, this is what you wrote, this is what she wrote. Once he started seeing that, you know, yes, people would pay for it, he had a policy he would not design a website if he couldn't have professional copy on it, because it's going to devalue and you're not going to get the return on your website that you should have. So he took the, you know, the expert stance of, I know what you need, and I'm not going to give you something less than what you need. So if you want to work with me, you're going to have copy, and it's going to be written by, if you have a copywriter on staff, fine. Or somebody you usually work with, I'll take a look at that. But I will not sell you a website without copy, professional copy.
So selling website copy seems difficult, but very possible. And once you get on that path, it is fruitful, not just for you, but also for your clients, right?
Right, exactly. And that's, you know, it's really no different than selling anything else. If you know it really has a benefit for your client and you can explain what that benefit is, that's all there is to it. It's the same as selling your design. What, you know, my website looks fine. Why should I change it? You know why, and you tell them why. And so it's the same thing with selling copy. This is why you should have it and what you'll be missing out on if you don't.
Awesome. Now let's switch gears and talk about your toolbox. So what are your current 5 favorite tools that power your online business?
Well, actually, one is my project management software, because I do have a team that I work with, and I use actually a fairly expensive software, but it does what I want it to, so and makes it easy.
Which one is it?
It's called Wrike, W-R-I-K-E.
Okay.
I have ran into a lot of people because, like I said, it isn't a freebie by any means, but it's very graphically orientated. And has a lot of, you know, I can look at my team and see what each team member is doing, or I can look at it and see what's been completed this week, or what is on the table for each client. I can look at it in all those different ways in a very easy to visual look. I had used Trello in the past, and that's part of what I liked about that was the visual. And Wrike is a step up from that to me. It has a lot more capability, and you don't have to switch from one board to the other. It's a click of the button and your screen changes to the other format. So that's one. For my actual writing, I do use a couple tools. One is Grammarly, which is very helpful in checking for mistakes, and that the only thing is you do need to understand what is correct in using that, because it will sometimes tell you to change something and it's misunderstanding how the word is being used, and you change it and it no longer makes any sense.
And it also improves your English as you use it over the period of years. Like you try to not make your regular mistakes. Like when I use word lot, L-O-T, I always forget putting A in front of it. Like, and Grammarly will always tell me. And now when I type normally, I'll always put A because I have that thing in back of my mind. Like I do this mistake all the time.
Yeah, it is a great tool, and even now it's even to the point where, you know, if you have too long of a sentence that makes it hard to read, it will tell you that, and it's not going to tell you how to fix it,
but it tells you that there's a problem there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the pro version has really good features. Like they will also tell you that you've written the first one in actives in the current present form, the second sentence is the past form. So is it like how you want to write, or or you just goofed up something? Right. So you will highlight those things, but it's again up to you how you want to fix it. Right.
Another thing that I use all the time is Evernote. I love it has a clipper tool that can be part of your browser. And so if you come across something that you want to save, you can copy, the link into Evernote, or you can just highlight a portion of it and clip it into Evernote. You can also, if you get an email that you want to save, you can quickly send it to your Evernote. I'm all about anything where I can just click and it happens. And it also has a great search feature. So I don't have to always put everything in a folder.
Organize it.
I'm not always good at that. Yeah. I can just say, you can tag them. So I can say, okay, these are all related to website copy. And I have a tag, and then I can say, okay, search, okay, that's the one I'm looking for.
Awesome.
So that's another tool I use a lot.
So we're done with the 5? Okay. So do you use email marketing in your business?
I have done some, but I used it more I also do some mentoring of freelance writers who are getting started. So I have a list that where I am just giving tips on being a freelance writer and that type of thing. But most of my marketing has been through LinkedIn. I've done that, Twitter. I started out on what is now Upwork. It was Elance when I started. That's where and that's where I got several of my clients. That's where I got work to start out with. Several of those clients still work with me, and we're off the platform after a couple of years, and save that expense. But it's been a good place for me to find clients. It's a matter of just knowing what to look for who's going to pay a decent price and wants quality and not just the lowest price.
Curious, do you also write copy for email marketing emails?
I have done that. It's not my favorite, but yes, I've done that. as well.
Awesome. So last question. I know you won't be excited to hear this question because I know copywriters don't look for tools and shiny stuff that much, but any upcoming tool or service that has caught your eye attention recently?
Let's see.
It could be one for the
No,
copywriters.
yeah. No, I can't say that I have, though. Might interest maybe some of you that my websites are all Squarespace,
Yeah.
which I converted to about 3 years ago, when I also changed my direction.
Mm-hmm.
I was introduced to Squarespace by a designer who has a very unique approach to her and her husband's business. They now build websites in 2 to 3 days on Squarespace only.
You can do it within few hours on WordPress, actually.
Well, but you get $30,000 for doing that.
Yeah, but
that's the difference.
Not that much on WordPress. Yeah, that's interesting to hear that.
Yeah, but her, I learned a lot from her. She what they realized was that if we want to work the way we want to work instead of the way our clients want to work and the way the rest of the industry wants to work,
Mm-hmm.
then we have to take charge and say, okay, this is how we're going to do business.
Yeah, but Squarespace does have its own big ecosystem, just like Wix.
Oh,
And
yeah.
there's another one called Webflow. Like they all are
Mm-hmm.
separate CMSs, and they all have their own experts and own market.
Right. And she found it very easy to work with and found it very easy for clients to update, which is what I liked about it as a client, that I find it very easy to work with.
Okay, cool. So very final question, the last question. I don't know. I goofed up with my English here, so we are just talking, right? So any agency owner or a freelancer listening to this and who do not provide or explain the importance of website copy to their website clients, what would you say to those bunch or that bunch?
That number one, you're missing out on a revenue stream that you could have that doesn't take you any time at all. The copywriter does it all. So why are you throwing away that money? Number one. And number two, that selling it is not difficult. It's not any difficult than selling anything else. It's really a mindset thing. And you need to sell it as a benefit for your client, not just as a nice perk to have professional copy. It's really a necessity for any business that's serious about doing business.
Awesome. So before we wrap this episode, where can people find you and what you can help people with?
Okay. My website is called Crafter of Words.
Obviously.
Crafter of Words. Yeah. So you will find out there exactly how I approach website copy. I do have some additional services for website owners. I will review their copy and tell them, what's good, what could be changed, so they can see without me, then hopefully they'll hire me to make the changes. But I've had a lot of website designers actually use that service to look at their own websites and say, okay, is my copy written in a way that's going to connect with people and bring to sales? So that's another service that I offer.
Awesome. So thank you, Kathy, for your time and recording this. It was a different topic for me to talk about, even though it's related to the ecosystem I live in and all those people who I interact on a daily basis live in, because I know this is a website copy is a really big, it's a very important component, but it's a big problem in our website design and development ecosystem, because it doesn't get that importance, again, because it's not visual. We all are visual. We need to drag and drop, see the colors and all that. But then it's about words, and words do make you money, as you said, like you're leaving money on the table. So hopefully people will get more into the copy services bandwagon and integrate more in their services in the agency or even working as a freelancer. So thank you so much for this eye-opening, and your examples were excellent. I'm going to say this again. thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thanks.